Hello there and welcome to another edition of WADR's Gender Program 50/50, broadcasting from West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM in Dakar, Senegal, and also live on our partner stations in Liberia, the Gambia, and Sierra Leone. If you're listening to us anywhere around the world via WADR.org, thank you for connecting with us as always. My name is Nadidi Titi and I am the host of the program. 50/50 is a platform dedicated to discussing gender equality and equity, promoting equal opportunities for all genders, fostering an inclusive and women-friendly environment, and examining social issues from diverse perspectives to address the unique impacts on individuals of different genders. In the last 3 episodes of 50/50, for the month of July, we have focused our conversations on women's rights advocacy and activism. In today's edition, we will explore the complexities surrounding the lives of older single individuals, examining how cultural norms, gender dynamics, and evolving social structures shape their experiences.
Personally, even the marriage itself, I don't think it's necessary.
Why don't you think marriage is necessary?
It's a choice. If a person decides to get married or not, it's a decision that the person makes for themselves.
Okay.
Not everyone wants to give birth. Not every person wants to make a nuclear family for themselves.
For me, an elderly woman would be probably someone in her 40s.
Okay.
I would not see someone in her 40s who is not married and say, what is wrong with her? She can't keep a man or something. No, will I see an older man and have that same perceptions? Okay. But then my granny would see a 40-year-old woman and be like, why is she refusing to settle?
So whether you're single, married, or somewhere in between, this conversation is sure to offer valuable perspectives on the diverse ways we define success, happiness, and connection in today's world. So sit back, relax, and let's begin the conversation how society views single men and women at an advanced age. We would love to hear your thoughts on this via our WhatsApp number +221 7818 45421. Again, the number is +221 7818 45421. You can also leave a comment on our various social media handles. Remember to follow our discussions on X and Instagram at WADR News, on Facebook at West Africa Democracy Radio English Service, and online at WADR.org. Please remember to begin your message with the hashtag 50/50.
Stay tuned. Your gender program 50/50 will be right back. And we are back. This is 50/50.
You're welcome once again to 50/50 with me, Nadidi Teti. Today's conversation centers on a thought-provoking subject about a topic that resonates with many: the societal perceptions of single men and women at an advanced age. In a world where traditional milestones such as marriage and family are often seen as markers of success and fulfillment, those who remain single into their later years frequently encounter a range of societal attitudes and assumptions. Are these perceptions changing in today's modern society, or do old stereotypes persist? We'll hear from a counseling psychologist and personality coach who is also a pastor, Samuel Darko-Kran, for his expert opinion on the subject. But first, to put the conversation in context, I engaged a group of young men and women on what their views, as well as that of society, are of men and women deemed to be old and not married. Let me start off with you, Renee. What are your thoughts, and what do you consider to be an older woman?
Let me start with a guy. Okay, so an older man, maybe 35 plus. Okay. For a lady, well, maybe when you hit 30, I think we'll be considered older. Yeah, but most of the time, the criticisms come from the older people because they see someone who is in her 30s, a lady especially who is in her 30s, and the question is, why are you not married? And the idea is, okay, so you've done something wrong. It's either you are too independent or too focused.
So the scrutiny is usually on the women, not the men.
Most of the time. And then secondly, it's also because the idea that you have a biological clock, and when you're nearing your 40s, menopause happens. So if you're 30 and you still are not married and you don't have children, then I think there's the idea, okay, so when are you planning to get married? When are you planning to have children? Yeah. For the guys, it's easier because whether you're 40 or you're 50 or you're 60, you can still father a child. And so most of the time, there isn't much pressure. And then also because of the kind of society we live in where majority of the financial burden falls on the man. If a man is 40 and he's still not financially stable, a lot of people don't really worry him with when I get married. But for a lady, it's like, when I get married, yeah. But like she said, I don't think I would see my friend who is my age, who's not married, and say, hey, why are you not married? Yeah. Okay. In fact, when my friends are getting married, I'm like, hey, are you getting married? Yeah.
Let me also pick your thoughts, Josh. What do you think about an older woman or an older man not being married? And I would want you to state what you think older in this sense means to you.
Being old or older is relative depending on the eye or where you are coming from. But from my point of view, I would say a guy being older or a guy being old is when the guy hits about 35. For a lady, maybe due to some biological constraint, I would want to bring it down a bit to maybe 30 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so for a lady, 30, a guy, 35.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what are your thoughts if by that age they are not married?
Honestly, I don't really get why people look at some people with a certain eye if they are not married. Okay. We all have our choices. We are free people. We are individual people. We are not supposed to be bound by societal pressures to get married at a certain point. If I feel I'm ready to get married before or after a certain age, then so be it. Society shouldn't judge me just because I haven't decided to settle before a certain age or not, you know. And then again, we may also want to put things into perspective. Years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, the socioeconomic factors are not the same as now.
Yeah.
You know? So when you put everything into consideration, let's say the work my dad was doing 30 years ago could have catered for his family then. That same work can't cater for him alone. And so, we have to put a lot of things into perspective when we are trying to judge people who are not married by a certain age. So for me, it's not really a big deal. If you want to get married before a certain age or after a certain age, I feel the individual should be able to do so. And we shouldn't look at them with certain eye or some perception in mind.
All right, so for you, Emmanuel, do you think that society in general is kind to older men or women who are not married? Do you think society is kind to them or looks at them with a certain kind of judgmental eye?
Personally, I think they look at the older women with judgmental eye more than the men.
Okay.
Yes, I don't know why, if there's a reason or maybe some kind of cultural practice that it comes with.
Okay.
But personally, even the marriage itself, I don't think it's necessary.
Why don't you think marriage is necessary?
It's a choice. It's a choice. If a person decides to get married or not, it's a decision that the person makes for themselves.
Okay.
Not everyone wants to give birth. Not every person wants to make a nuclear family for themselves. So if a person decides to live alone or be on their own or not get married, I don't think they should be judged or looked at in a certain way.
Okay.
That's kind of judgmental.
Okay.
So yeah.
So that's your thought. Okay. Irene, what about you? What do you think?
For me, an elderly woman would be probably someone in her 40s.
Okay.
I would not see someone in her 40s who is not married and say, what is wrong with her? She can't keep a man or something. No, will I see an older man and have that same perceptions?
Okay.
But then my granny would see a 40-year-old woman and be like, why is she refusing to settle? Don't you know you have a biological clock?
Yeah.
Don't you know that you need to have grandchildren and stuff like that? So it's still a generational thing for me. We don't really care like the previous generations.
You had the varied views on this interesting subject. I'll go for a break. When I return, we'll hear from the expert.
You are listening to WADR's gender program 50/50. The program is live on 94.9 FM in Dakar, Senegal, alternative youth radio in Lofa County, Liberia, and around the world on WADR.org.
You're welcome back. You're still listening to 50/50 with me, Na Didi Teti. We are also live on Radio Gbaf FM 91.3 in Sierra Leone. Now, just before the break, we heard the thoughts of a group of men and women on what their views, as well as that of society, are of single men and women who are older and not married. Now it's time to hear the insights of an expert. Samuel Dakokran. He's a counseling psychologist and personality coach, as well as a pastor. In my conversation with him, he sheds light on how the pressures of society take a toll on single men and women who are older. For him, marriage is not the ultimate. So no one must feel incomplete if they are not married yet or never get married. But he first starts by addressing why the phenomenon is predominant in Africa.
The society where we find ourselves in, especially in Africa, it has become a very big problem. Age has been attached to marriage. And then any time that we find somebody in the family or among friends who is not married at a certain age, a lot of pressure is given to that very person. Some go to the extent of calling the person to really find out what is wrong. And it's a very big problem. You know, our society is set up in a way that it's more family-based. So anytime somebody is getting older and is not married, especially family become worried and they expect that procreation should continue. So it has become a very big problem for us. In the Western world, it's not so much of a problem there, yes, because of their setting. But for us, we are really family people. So we expect that everyone should get married at a certain age. And it's causing a lot of depression among young people who are getting closer to that very age. Let's say by age 30 to 35.
I was about asking you what we deem to be old, or what is deemed to be old in our side of the world.
It's surprising that, I don't know where it came from, but I think the tag has been from the age 30, especially for women. By age 30, the pressure starts. And everyone is waiting to receive an invitation to a marriage ceremony.
And that is in relation to the women. How about the men?
The men have not suffered with this. I mean, it's jokingly we say, oh, you know, Yanawari kind of thing, but we don't take it so serious when it comes to men. So men go to 40, 45. I mean, maybe around 45, they also get some of this pressure that we are talking around. I think around 45 years. Yes, men also do.
And why do you think that women, get more of the pressure to get married by the age 30, and when you're not married by that time, there's a certain weight on that person?
Okay, I think usually it's because of childbirth. People feel when you are growing older, it's quite difficult to give birth. Medically, it's difficult, and if you are getting pregnant at a certain age, it's very difficult to keep the pregnancy, take care of a child at a certain age. So I think that's why people give pressure to women to get married early and start giving birth early as well.
So essentially for women, it's because of the so-called biological clock.
Exactly. They feel if you don't get married early, it may delay your childbirth.
When all this pressure is going on, what kind of psychological and emotional impact does it have on the people this pressure is being piled on?
Seeing myself among siblings, among friends, among colleagues, church members who are getting married and giving all the invitations here and there, you're attending weddings here and there at a certain age. Even if no one is saying anything, you start getting depressed. Why am I not being the one that is giving out the invitation? And I'm always the one receiving the invitation. So naturally, it works on you. and it puts a lot of pressure on you. And then people start talking about it. It makes you very unstable. Very, very unstable. Mentally, psychologically, you become very unstable because every now and then your attention is drawn to the fact that you are not married, and it's a problem. And what will daddy say, and what will mommy say, and what are friends saying? So it becomes a load on you psychologically.
And what are some of the common psychological effects that these societal perceptions can have on an individual who is single at the age we perceive to be old?
Decisions. So it turns that most people start to make very bad decisions because of this pressures, and it leads people to become addicted to certain behaviors or habits. Yeah, so they find it to be a consolation. He doesn't know how to drink, but because of the pressures, he starts drinking and eventually become addicted to drinking. Somebody starts flirting around, and then it becomes like addicted to sex or become a sex maniac just to ease that pressure on him or her. So it makes you very unstable in life. You want this, tomorrow you want that because the pressure is on you. You want to make a decision, you want to marry, so you enter relationships that you don't need to go into. So anyone that comes, let me accept the person, and then eventually you go through a very more depressing situation, abusive relationships, verbal and physical, and you end up, becoming somebody you are not. So these are effects that you may or you will have when you are going through these pressures.
What are some of the common psychological effects that these societal perceptions can have on an individual who is single at the age we perceive to be old?
So it's very gross. In our society, the way people, we are not so, we don't have much knowledge on how to even handle mental health. And it's another issue on its own. So you will not get help. No one is ready to help you, or there is a societal tag on going to seek help when you feel you are stressed or you are going through an unstable mental situation. So that alone is another issue. You are working. You're a career woman, or you have to go to the office. You have to go and open your shop and sell something. You have to go and meet somebody, a client, and all this. So you meet the person or you meet the people, and your self-esteem is dropped. You have an interview. You are not able to speak because whilst going for the interview, you may have had a comment, or your thoughts would have been drawn to that fact that you are not married and you are delaying and what is wrong with you. So your self-esteem is not working, it's dropped. So maybe in an interview where you really qualify for the job and you are being asked the question, you are not able to express yourself very well because at the time your mind is set on dealing with such issues. And in a case where you want to even go out on a date, somebody is asking you on a date or something, and you feel the person is nice enough to live with, or at that point, that very crucial point, you may fumble. You may not know what to say. Even on the date, you may not be able to express yourself very well, and the person may feel like, wow, this person, is he serious at all? Is she really ready to go into something very serious? That's some of the effects that psychologically it will affect.
How can single women and men who are older, how can they cope with instances like these when they are confronted with these pressures and challenges and all? How can they deal with it?
You first of all, you have to understand that, and it's very difficult for people to understand. Marriage is not for everybody. Marriage is not for everyone or everybody. We are in this world, and we don't determine our destinies by ourselves. Yes, our Creator determines what happens to us, and we need to understand that not all of us will get married, and that should be the number one on the list. So, if by age 35 I'm not married. And so what? Life continues. Okay, what if there's nothing like marriage on this earth and we are here? What will keep you going? We need to find that one. It's because from the experience that people have in marriage, they will not tell you marriage is the most enjoyable thing or the best thing that has ever happened to them. Maybe you find only about maybe 5% of the people saying that. It's becoming like it's almost rare. So where do you find happiness? Are you going to get them married to satisfy your parents, to make your friends happy that they are attending a wedding or you are getting married, to prove to society that, I can also get married? In actual sense, people don't even understand why they need to get married. So if you are single and you are not married at a certain age, for me, I think you have to find your purpose in life and pursue it. And marriage is just an add-on. That's it. So the first on the list is that stay focused on what makes you happy. Find it and stay with it. And then if marriage comes, fine. If it doesn't come, you are not the first person who didn't get married before death. Yes. So what if you get married and your husband or your wife abuses you and then you took poison and then you died? Okay, what if somebody gets married at age 25 and the husband dies at age 32 and enjoys only 7 years in marriage, and you didn't marry early? Maybe you got married at age 40 and lived with your husband till you are 85 years before he leaves. The best one is the latter. You've gotten the best person. You are going to enjoy 40 years and 50 years in marriage. You are going to, old age. You are enjoying old age together. So I accept what society is saying. I accepted this man, and I've been in the relationship or the marriage with him for 10 years. And all what I get is verbal abuse, always insults, not coming home, chilling with friends here and there, not taking care of the kids, not caring about my needs, my emotional needs. Which one should I choose? Obviously, I need to enjoy whatever I'm getting myself into. So I think we need to put ourselves first. We need to think about what makes us happy in life. We need to think about our purpose in life and pursue it. And marriage will just be an add-on. If it doesn't happen, the Nigerian man will say nothing spoiled.
And you heard us engage Samuel Darko-Kran, who is a counseling psychologist and personality coach, as well as a pastor, shared his thoughts on this issue. We will do a part 2 of this conversation. Meanwhile, make sure you make a date with us next week for the Woman of the Month edition of 50/50. This is how we wrap up today's edition of 50/50 with me, Na Didi Tete. Remember to follow our discussions on X and Instagram at WADR News, on Facebook at West Africa Democracy Radio English Service, and online at wadr.org. Also, leave me a message via WhatsApp number +221 7818 45421. Again, the number is +221 7818 45421. I am Nadidi Tete. See you next week. Bye.
We thank you for listening to this program in Liberia on Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County, Kwakete Radio 100.9 FM, Baga, Voice of Liberia FM 104.1 Monrovia, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Rivers. In Sierra Leone, we thank our listeners on Radio Bath 91.3 FM, in the Gambia on New Me FM 94.0 North Bank Region.